Most software engineers underestimate how much they need to do outside work. Your job can teach you a lot, but it can also put you on a learning path that's very narrow, not necessarily what you want, because you work for one company on one code base against one roadmap, with one particular set of constraints. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that. The problem is that your company needs you to learn, and what you want to learn and where your career path wants to go aren't always aligned. They're not always the same thing. I learned that very early in my career. My first software engineering role had me programming in Visual Basic 6. Nothing wrong with Visual Basic, but it wasn't what I wanted for my career. I wanted to learn C and C++. I want to be doing cutting-edge stuff. I wanted to be doing that deep technical work. So I learned them outside work. And I didn't just read books about them. I started building bots for Quake 2 and Half-Life. I'd already built bots for Quake 1 before. But those bots then gave me a reason to learn. Suddenly I wasn't just studying C++ because someone told me it was useful. That's something I wanted to make, and every problem I encountered forced me to understand a little bit more about C++. That's why I still think building is one of the best ways for software engineers to develop their skills. Reading helps, and I read books. Courses help. Couldn't afford any courses at the time. Writing helps. I wrote some articles about C++ to help me learn and further understand it. Writing blogs can help nowadays as well. But building brings all those things together. Imagine you want to understand how load balance works. You can watch a tutorial. Come along with a decent understanding of the high-level concepts, but try building one. Now you have to think about routing, failures, concurrency, observability, testing, and all the awkward details that disappear when you're just looking at it on a diagram. And that's when the learning starts to really stick and become permanent in your brain. What you build doesn't need to become a business. You don't need to launch the next big SaaS product. You don't need to spend 6 months creating the next big startup. Just build a simple Redis clone. Write a parser. Make a tiny web server. Automate something that annoys you. Contribute to an open source project. In fact, rebuilding something that already exists can be better for learning because you removed one of the big problems, that is, deciding what to invent. You can focus entirely on how it works and what you want to learn from that. And that goes beyond writing code, like a system design for a product you use. Take a difficult technical concept and try to explain it in plain English. Mentor another engineer. Learn a new domain and then think about how you design software for one of the problems that people in that domain face. The important part is applying that knowledge. Don't just consume information. Do something with it. Now, whenever I talk about learning outside work, there's always the obvious objection. I don't have the time. I don't want to spend my life outside work doing more coding. And I don't think the answer is that you should sacrifice every evening or weekend to your career. You shouldn't. We all need a work-life balance. But I do think most of us have more small pockets of time than we realise. Throughout my career, I've used commuting time and trains to read and learn. Wasn't anything else to do. Early on, before mobile internet and Wi-Fi were everywhere, I'd sometimes be working away from home and stuck in a B&B in the evening, so I'd read a book. Later, when Coursera and YouTube and recorded conference talks became widely available, I decided to watch a lesson or a technical talk over lunch, especially when it was wet and too cold to go outside for a walk. But given I live in the UK, that happens fairly often. Now, none of these are a massive amount of time or big effort that you need to do. It's 15 minutes here, half an hour there, some time on a train journey, a quiet lunch, stuck in the airport. But all those hours compound over time. And I've seen the difference. I've had friends and colleagues who did very little technical practice outside of work. And while I kept on learning and building things, over time, I got ahead of them. It doesn't make me better than them. For a perfectly reasonable reason, somebody might decide that family health or other priorities matter more. And again, I've done that. I choose to work from home and accept I won't get some roles because of that. But we're always making a trade-off. If we choose not to invest time in developing skills, other engineers will. And over a long period of time, that difference compounds. And AI is making this even more significant. Now, I use AI a lot, and I think engineers should use it. There's a big difference between using AI to help you learn and using it to avoid learning. So I built an AI bot specifically to help me with coding challenges. It'll give me hints, and it'll point me in the right direction, but it deliberately refuses to tell me what the next step is. And that restriction is the point of the bot, because if you get stuck in a problem and you immediately ask AI to solve it, Google the answer, or get somebody else to do it for you, then you've not had that difficulty. You've not had to overcome the difficult bit. So sure, you'll finish the task faster, but the difficult bit is where the learning happens. You know, when you're stuck debugging it, when you're stuck trying things out that don't work, and then when you realize your mental model is long, that is the reps that makes you better. So use the AI for leverage. Use it to explain things, to challenge your thinking, to give you feedback and shorten that feedback. But be careful about outsourcing your thinking. Because ultimately, your company isn't responsible for building the career you want. You are. So it doesn't need to be a side hustle. You don't need to spend every evening coding, and you don't need to become a workaholic. But you do need to keep learning. And for software engineers, one of the best ways to do that is still remarkably simple. Build things.